Today on Coco Disaster, I've been shooting for 20 minutes, why won't he die? Hi, and welcome to Coco Disaster for a very special episode. I'm Chorps and
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Jay.
And we're here to bring you the first installment of a special Coco Disaster style show, which we're going to call Single Servings. And it's where we focus on one show and just discuss it from front to back.
And I think it's only appropriate to start with one of the greatest TV anime ever put to this planet.
Yeah, this is one that a lot of people clamor about, and I just all the time am hearing about.
Mm-hmm.
It's Gungrave.
There you go.
Based on the PlayStation 2 game by Yasuhiro Naito.
Yeah, made it all on his own.
Yep, it was just him. He coded it, put it together.
And he even made the anime. It was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
what a guy.
This is a little self-indulgent. Because this is a tie-in to a Let's Play I'm doing, but we do plan to do more of these that are maybe a little more accessible for a wider audience. You know, shows that you may have heard of.
Right.
Like Gungrave.
Yeah, but today we're going to talk about Gungrave, which is surprisingly good.
Yes.
I think, as like an adaptation of something that is overall pretty empty, which is the original Gungrave game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't think of something more like gonzo and just like silly, weird action than Gungrave.
Yeah, and it got turned into something I think that with a lot of like artistic integrity.
Yeah.
It's really surprising in ways.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But I guess let's start off real quick. You know a lot about Gungrave, Jordan. Is there any just like prefacing it with like the big names in charge, who's handling it?
Well, it's the studio behind it is Studio Madhouse, and there's like sort of a reason for that. It's because Gungrave, sort of like the creative voice behind it, was Yasuhiro Naito, the creator of Trigun, which is a manga that was also adapted by Studio Madhouse. And then on top of that, Red Entertainment, who made the Gungrave video game, were also working on a Trigun video game, Trigun Planet Gunsmoke, at one point, which got cancelled. So there was already sort of like a connected triangle there, and that's why all these names ended up together.
Yeah, if you look through the staff, you see a lot of familiar names between both Trigun and Gungrave. The screenwriter for Gungrave also did the screenwriting for Trigun as well.
Yes.
And actually, although Yasuhiro Naito handled the concept and the character creation for Gungrave, Yosuke Kuroda, the screenwriter, ended up working on most of the actual story proper.
Yeah.
Naito ended up more as like a consultant to make sure everything was like clear with his vision.
The idea guy.
Yeah, but it was mostly left to Yosuke Kuroda to handle the actual development of the series.
Mm-hmm. I think the most interesting staff member on Gungrave is actually that it was one of the earliest works at Madhouse of Tetsuro Araki, who would later go on to direct Death Note, Attack on Titan, and High School of the Dead.
Oh, so a pretty big guy.
That's a really big name, yeah. Death Note is one of the most popular anime of all time.
I've heard of all three of them.
Well,
yeah,
there you
see? Perfect. Works out exactly as we hoped.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into Gungrave proper, I want to just kind of go over like Yasuhiro Naito's work, because he's for someone who seems like a pretty big name, he really hasn't done that much.
No.
Like he's mostly written on his original series Trigun, and I guess the sequel Trigun Maximum.
Yes.
So in the middle of that, he gets pulled in to do Gungrave because he meets one of the producers at Red Entertainment, and they want to work together, and they just ask, hey, Naito, what kind of game you want to make? And he's like, I want to make this kind of cool action gunplay game, because there aren't enough of these, or there aren't many of them, and I want to play this sort of game.
How times have changed, huh?
And it was originally pitched, I think, in like 98.
Wow.
Is what I read through an
Jeez.
interview. Like, the character designs and everything were done in 98, and it took, what would have been, like, 5 years to actually make the game at that point?
Jeez.
He played like Rising Zane, Samurai Gunman, and was like, I want to do this, but more so.
But even more. But with Trigun and Gungrave and his newest series, Blood Blockade Battlefront, it really feels like Naitao is very big into sort of like Western, kind of Western cinematics.
Yeah.
Because you have a story heavily built around like the Wild West sort of stuff. Then this one's a very like mafioso sort of revenge story. And then Blood Blockade Battlefront is just like your New York business, like a Mad Men or whatever.
Mad Men meets Men in Black.
Yes,
Sure.
it all seems very Western focused, but reading more into it, it seems like he built a lot of what Gungrave, like the overall tone of Gungrave, at least for the game, off of like what he calls Hong Kong noir. Like, sort of the gunplay sort of revenge stories coming out of China at the time.
Oh, so like early... oh my god, what's that guy called? The director
John
of
Woo.
Face Off. John Woo, there you go. That's, Face Off, his most well-known movie. It's very John Woo-esque.
But yeah, he built it a lot off of these sort of John Woo ideas, but still gives the setting this very Western feel, not only in the character designs with, like, Grave having a cowboy hat, but also just, like, a lot of the feel just seems a lot more in tune with sort of Western characters and stuff.
And in Gungrave, there's a character who has 2 shiny metal or shiny gold revolvers. In Face Off, there's also a character who has 2 golden revolvers.
Oh. Which came first?
Probably Face Off. I think that's like 2001.
Okay. So I can't easily go, oh, John Woo just stole this.
No.
What a hack.
Well, if he did steal it, the character in Gungrave, he's got a gold and a silver revolver.
Oh, you're
so
right. So it's
John Woo
different.
was like, I can one-up this.
What a visionary.
So, a couple other, like, it's a surprising number of big names that ended up both on the game and the anime.
Mm-hmm.
Because, while Yasuhiro Naidao handled the character designs, the mechanical designs are done by a man named Kosuke Fujishima, who, did work on, like, Oh My Goddess, and You're Under Arrest, and Sakura Wars, and the Tales of series, like, very, like, surprisingly big names for what ends up being just, like, a passion project, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because they have these, like, tiny connections together, they end up all together. And it does give Gungrave a very, like, distinct feel.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's nothing else really like it, I feel.
There's no anime out there where the body is that big.
Yeah, it's extremely 2000s. But alright, so let's get into, I guess, the anime proper.
Alright.
With the game, it's a very, like, 2-hour sort of thing that's just the actual revenge story. When they created the anime, they knew that would not be enough to fill the 26 episodes they were given. And so they made it more focused on the human element of why the revenge has to happen.
Yeah.
And so most of it is a flashback to, like, pre-game material that shows the story of Brandon Heat and Harry McDowell, 2 best buddies kind of living it on the lam, and how they eventually build up to becoming, like, big names in the mafia known as Millennium, or I guess in a business known as Millennium.
Yes.
Yeah.
And eventually the betrayal of Harry McDowell, and how that then develops into what the game is. Because this does handle that material as well, but in a very different way to sort of keep it a little more grounded and realistic compared to what the game ends up being.
Yeah.
There are no aliens in this story that just come out of nowhere. And that was a pretty good decision.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I feel like if you go too far with what they've done, it starts to lose some of its, like, emotional impact because it just becomes ridiculous.
Well, it already becomes pretty ridiculous, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, true. But I feel like it's still that human element is still always present. They never go like, oh, there's something really supernatural. It's just technology.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, there's nothing supernatural about this fat man being powered by propellers and throwing fat bombs.
All right, so let's start episode 1.
Oh my god.
This is gonna take forever.
Yeah.
So episode 1 we can actually pretty much ignore. It comes back later.
Oh, that's right.
So episode 1 is basically just proof of concept, like, hey, I know you guys are here for the sick gunplay, so they do it.
But just hear us out for 15 episodes first.
Yeah, but then for, I think, the next, like... I'm actually looking. Yeah, for the next 15 episodes after that, it's all backstory.
Yeah. It's over half the anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so episode 1 is basically just to get people in who expected the fast action gunplay of Gungrave, and then right after it's just, hey, here's this story we actually want to tell.
It's just like, hey, remember Gungrave? And there's a collective, no?
Well, guess what? He's back.
He's back from the grave.
He's beyond it.
So before we go too far in, also all of us watched the dub, right?
Yes.
So we'll be talking about the dub voices and things. So if there are mild inconsistencies between the script, that's why. I don't think so, though. There's not much script as it is.
Right.
You wanna take the reins, Jordan, since you're the one most familiar with Gungrave?
Well, if I'm gonna take the reins, then I'm gonna, like, turbo speed through the story, probably. So I don't know if that's a good idea.
Well, we'll start and we'll see how it goes.
Alright, so the basic story, it's about Brandon Heat and Harry McDowell and some of their vagabond friends living in the downtown dirty neighborhood, living a life of light crime.
Yeah, they're like a street gang.
Yeah.
There's like Kenny, who's a kid, and there's the guy with the football jersey.
And Chopper's doctoring.
Then there's Jolas with his horrible dead eyes.
Yeah, Jolas is the cook for them.
Yes.
Kenny's
Jolas
the kid.
cooking.
And Nathan is the other guy.
Nathan's the big guy who wears the hockey jerseys.
Right.
And they're the little tightly knit gang. And basically the first thing that happens is, if I remember correctly, they get in trouble with, like, the little brother of, like, some big, like, the big bad of the early story, like Mad Dog.
Yes, there's another there are a bunch of gangs here.
Yes.
And he gets so they get in a fight with a gang led by a dude named Deed.
Yes.
Whose older brother, Mad Dog,
Mad Dog Lad,
left at some point to join the Mafia.
Yeah.
And so they get into this fight with Deed, where I think Deed pulls a fake gun out to try and intimidate them, and they just, like, own him really hard.
Yeah.
And then Mad Dog comes back and is like, hey, my little brother is really, really messing up my reputation.
He's running my gang like shit.
And so he goes out and he fucking murders Jolas immediately and basically forces them into hiding because they know where their hideout is now.
And then Kenny pulls out a fake gun, and that's theming.
No, it's not yet.
Oh, is that not yet?
That's not yet.
Oh, okay.
We just know Kenny has a gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and during this whole time, we get a look into at a girl named Maria, who Brandon seems to have a crush on. But she's, like, going to school, she's, like, trying to be well-to-do and take care of herself, and her uncle is, like, extremely not happy that Brandon is, like, talking to her, well, interacting with her. He doesn't really talk, let's be fair.
First, we should say that the uncle is extremely cool because he wears Hawaiian shirts.
Right. He's the coolest.
He is really cool.
His name's Jester, I think?
His name is Jester,
he's Jester.
yes. And he's just like, hey, Brandon, stop hanging out with my niece. I don't like it. You're a gang member.
I don't like when you say the name Maria. It sounds like Shadow the Hedgehog is talking.
I was thinking about that too.
Oh, we could make a lot of comparisons, but let's save that.
Okay.
So then after that,
a lot happens in this show, by the way.
a lot happens, and it's surprising because it never feels, like, filled. Like, it never feels, like, overstuffed.
I think it
but
does.
there's just so much going on.
There is. There are like 4 seasons worth of plot points stuffed into this 2-season show.
Especially, I think, pre their, like, introduction to Millennium.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it starts to slow down a bit after that, but it's hard getting everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're now on the run from Mad Dog.
Yes. They're on the run from Mad Dog Lad.
And they're trying to keep the gang together.
Yes. And they have... Is this when they have the confrontation at Kenny's grave?
No. This
Okay.
is, they try to go and get help, from that information broker.
Yes.
Right.
Who, due to, a fear-mongering, like, thing by Mad Dog, ends up betraying them, and Harry gets shot.
Yes.
Wait, Harry gets shot?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember that.
He gets wounded.
I think he gets beat up.
That's right, he just gets beat up.
Because he makes a comment, like, later in the anime that he's never been shot.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
What a guy. What a wuss.
Good old never shot Harry. But,
So then, with no one else to turn to, Brandon turns to Jester, who basically just says, hey, Brandon, I need you to leave,
Yeah.
like, town. I'm gonna take care of Maria, and you being around her is just making it worse for her, because she might get shot. At which point it gets interrupted because, Mad Dog's, like, gang, or I guess Deed's gang, show up and shoot the shit out of, Jester. Jester ends up dying at the hands of Mad Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else in Brandon's gang shows up, but at this point we learned that the gun that Kenny was holding is a toy gun, because, Nathan grabs it and tries to shoot Mad Dog, and ends up dying because he's got a fake gun.
Right.
Then they just kill Kenny for no reason, and Brandon and Harry are left, looking down the barrel of a gun. Until a man named Bear Walken shows up from a group called Millennium, and basically says that Mad Dog is acting out of his place in the organization, and, shoots him and kills him. Is that the end? No,
they kill Deed
too.
after that, yeah.
Yeah, afterwards, Bear Walken passes the gun over to Brandon and Harry to take their revenge, at which point they kill Deed.
Yes.
and Brandon seemed pretty surprised about that. He was like, whoa, jeez, Harry.
Jeez, you just killed a man who killed all our friends. Weird.
This pace is not going to work. Okay, here's the basic outline. After this, Harry and Brandon have a run-in with the leader of Millennium at one point while they're at the grave of all their friends, who's called Asagi Coldwell, aka Big Daddy. And Harry begs him to let him join Millennium, and he says okay, and Brandon goes with him. And most of the story is like Harry making his way up the organization with Brandon in tow. And Harry does it in like this really schemy way, like he's constantly like betraying or like sidestepping people.
And then Brandon's just really good at shooting people.
Brandon's really good at shooting people, it's true. He's even better than what's he called? Bunji Kusanagi.
Well, because Bunji Kugashira isn't part of their group at the start.
Oh, that's right. But he is hired to kill them on one point. But either way, eventually they, like after a 5-year time skip or whatever, they make their way into what is called the family, which is like the top brass of the company that Big Daddy really loves as a family. And the one code of honor, the code of iron, as they call it for the family, is just don't betray anybody. Just don't betray Millennium. Surprise, surprise, Harry betrays a lot of people in Millennium on his way to the top.
Meanwhile, Brandon is just shooting his way up to become like a big, like the best hitman.
The
basically.
top enforcer, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also during this time, Harry starts an illicit relationship with a 13-year-old.
Yeah, he starts. Yeah. Is that right? Is that?
Yeah.
I always just thought she was very tiny.
No, she, like, in the first or couple episodes, like, there's like, oh, hey, Bear Walken, how's your 7-year-old daughter? And he's like, oh, she's fine. Then
she's like 13. It's still messed up, but
that is
it's
really
still messed
bad.
up. But
No. But like, it was a 6-year time skip from that, so she was 13. So,
but the idea is basically that he's using this as like a connection to get in.
Yes, because it's Bear Walken's daughter.
Yeah, he's trying to make friends. He's trying to like make these connections, you know, because she's very into him because she's 13 and has crushes on all the like sweet talking dudes, which Harry is extremely sweet talking.
He's a bit of a ladies' man.
Yeah, he shows as much even when he's like in a street gang. He's like hitting up all these ladies.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. At the same time, Harry started making friends with people who were trying to get into the family as well. We have Bob Poundmax, who's just a big eater. He's very skinny, but he has an extreme metabolism.
Right.
And we have Ballad Bird Lee, who
has no character traits.
No. Well, no, that's not true.
He's Chinese.
Yeah, I was about to say he is very Chinese.
And also voiced by Steve Bloom. But not under the name Steve Bloom. It's one of his pseudonyms.
Steve Flower.
He's really Steve Blooming it up.
Yeah, kinda.
It's always weird hearing him in like a bit role, because it always feels like he gets all the like big ones. But yeah, so Bob and Harry and Lee have made sort of this like small group together because they're all like good at different things. Bob's really big into surveillance.
Well, he's big everywhere, but
yeah, Harry's a sweet talker and is sort of the negotiations guy. And I'm not sure exactly where Lee fits into this whole thing. I think he's just friends with Bob.
He's good at PR, not PR. He's good at HR. He's good at managing people.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
He's later said to be a sadist, and that was the one character trait I could really get out of him.
That is just, he is not about that earlier on.
Yeah. He doesn't have much of a character.
Anyway, while all this is going on, Brandon forms a friendship with Big Daddy, the leader of the organization, because Big Daddy has taken in Maria after Jester got killed, and he knows that Brandon has a crush on her, and he sees a little bit of Brandon, or he sees a little bit of himself in Brandon, because they're similar, like, quiet but kind people who just, in the end, want the best for everybody. And we find out that Big Daddy didn't start the organization to do bad, to be the leader of this evil rich empire. He did it because he wanted to protect people.
He is still in charge of a mafia, but it's supposed to be like a good mafia.
It's the good mafia, like the 3-6 mafia.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So at this time, Harry's starting to do all this sort of like behind the scenes shit of like kind of swindling money out of the organization and like pinning it on other people.
Yes.
So he's doing this thing where he's like hunting down traitors,
quote
but
unquote.
Basically just setting up people for a fall.
Yeah. And also during this time.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you can say.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about where Brandon starts in the organization, because that had two of my favorite characters.
The guy who looks like Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, there's Steve Buscemi and Dad.
But so yeah, he starts out in basically doing like small jobs of just like collecting pay for the organization.
Right. They take bets on these stupid fucking kiwi races, because this is apparently a strange alternate universe where horses don't exist, except you see a horse later in the show.
Oh yeah.
Kiwi races are the most mafia-funded
They're really
events
fast,
in the world.
alright?
It's like, we can't have that many legs on screen at once. And also, they just reuse the same shot of the TV showing the kiwi races for the entire series.
Well, they put the kiwis in different lanes. It's not always the same kiwi.
The bracket is just very stacked. That's just the way it always goes.
To start, Brandon is very, like, against shooting.
Yes.
And eventually he grows into it, just sort of understanding that it's part of his job. And Brandon is very good at following directions.
Mm-hmm. Like, he ends up making it higher up in the company because he gets involved in, like, trying to rub out some dudes who ended up stealing from Millennium. And it's like, wow, Brandon, you really killed those guys good.
I want you on my team.
It's like punching, but through a gun.
Yeah.
I get it.
And then that's how he becomes the, like, best hitman in all of Millennium.
Yes.
So after that, we have a short break where we have two new villains pop up and a new, like, mafia sort of group called Lightning.
Mm-hmm. We have Blood War gets out of prison,
Yeah, his name is Brad Wong, I think, but his real name should be Blood War.
His real name's Blood
Oh,
War.
I just assumed his real name was Blood War.
Yeah, me
because
too.
of this show.
No, Canon Vulcan, the leader of Lightning, his name is actually Canon Vulcan.
Okay. Good. And they are working on some kind of technology that allows people to survive beyond death and like basically rebuild the proteins in their body real quick to be able to stave off damage.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's called the Necro Rise Project.
Yes, and it also makes them really easy to mind control, or makes them like very docile so they take directions very easily.
They show this
Right.
by like reviving a dog that suddenly like shoots spikes out of its neck.
Which is weird because that doesn't actually become part of the thing until the next iteration of the project, really.
Yeah, this is just sort of the introduction to what's happening because later on they'll basically steal the technology.
Also,
Yeah.
that dog was not very docile. It did not listen to commands very well.
Well,
That dog didn't.
well, yeah,
That's
but
true.
you know they're early on.
Right.
The dog also wasn't dead yet, I think, so that's maybe why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think all the other people get killed, and then because of necrolization, they come back to life, and that's why.
Okay.
But the only important part of that subplot is that the Millennium snuffs them out and steals the necrolization technology from them.
Yeah, so Blood War goes through the Necro Rise technology, like, project,
Yes,
and becomes this, like, weird Blanca-looking Hulk kind of guy.
with guns.
With guns.
Yeah.
Right? With guns. We should preface
He's like,
everything
I'm a
with
giant
guns.
monster, but I'm still just gonna shoot you.
During this time when they're fighting against Lightning, Brandon meets a man named Bunji Kugashira,
Mhm.
who is, like, sort of their number one hitman.
Yes.
And Brandon and Bunji sort of come to this, like, mutual understanding through gunplay. Like, that
Mhm.
they're sort of, like, not exactly rivals, but, like, people with a common cause.
Uh-huh.
And Bunji ends up turning and joining Millennium sort of to follow Brandon because he recognized Brandon as the better gunsman.
Yes.
Also, that part had a trope in anime I really liked, that people that are just such best buds that they can communicate telepathically.
Right, which they do a number of times in the gun fight against Lightning.
Right.
Mhm.
And Blood War and Canon Vulcan do it later when they're both dying.
Oh, yeah. So Millennium is now in possession of the necrolization technology. Harry sort of like ends up doing one of his like double cross fall guy things where Brandon can see it. And Brandon's like, hey, wait, you're not supposed to do that. That's messed up. So like his faith in Harry, which had already been diminishing because he sees Harry doing all this dirty mafia shit.
Like, he knows that Harry's doing all the dirty mafia shit.
Yes, but now it's just at an all-time low. Like, does he betray anyone important that Brandon sees? I don't actually.
I don't think anyone important. It's a lot of people that, like, get names and stuff and are big in Big
Yeah.
Daddy's organization, but none of them are, like, big name characters.
It's a member of the family. So eventually it comes to a head in an elevator, and Brandon decides he has to shoot Harry because Harry betrayed the family, so he betrayed the Code of Iron. But he can't do it because Harry is his longtime friend, and Brandon doesn't like killing people he loves. But Harry kills him instead. He shoots him with a gun. Brandon falls out of the elevator, and he's dead.
And, like, the thing that comes out of this with Harry is sort of like, he just thinks that Brandon has turned on him and sort of like Big Daddy has stolen Brandon from him, because he expected him and Brandon to be top of the top the whole time, best buds.
Together, yes. And speaking of people being stolen away, because Brandon is like so busy with his job murdering people and all that, Maria and him end up like drifting away from each other a little bit. And speaking of young women having a relationship with older dudes, she ends up in a relationship with Big Daddy, who's like 200 years old.
He's like, I think he's twice, or I think it's like 25-50.
Okay,
Is the
yeah, that
split,
sounds about
at
right.
least at some point in the story.
All right.
But, yeah, so, like, Brandon feels really shitty about his job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he starts to feel really bad about all the killing, and he just feels like he is not the man that can take care of Maria because he's become so, like, cold-hearted and calculating and stuff.
Yes.
And so he's like, hey, Big Daddy, you can marry Maria. I promise I'm not bad.
Yeah. They do end up in a relationship with Brandon's consent for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Well, I think Big Daddy's just a good dude.
He is, yeah. Absolutely. So that's important for later. But for now, in the end, Big Daddy wants to kill Brandon, but he can't do it.
No,
and instead,
no, not Big Daddy.
He wants to kill Harry, you mean?
He wants to kill Harry. Sorry, you're right. These names are bad, and I keep confusing them. All these Western people
that's
look
surprising
exactly
because
the same.
everybody's always saying their first and last name all the time.
I know. Well, Harry McDowell's the one I think who gets who's just Harry a lot.
Yeah,
he's also Bloody Harry eventually.
Yeah.
Big Daddy wants to kill Harry, but he can't do it. And then they confront Big Daddy confronts Harry because he's a good dude and all that, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, Brandon knew what you were up to. He's the only good kid in this duo. And then in a fit of rage, Harry ends up killing Big Daddy.
Right.
Right.
Sort of just because he feels extreme guilt.
Yes.
During this time, Harry has made a deal with a man named Dr. Tokioka, who is the guy behind one of the big guys behind the Necrorise project.
Yes. Well, he was the original main scientist
to try to build this undead army, basically to make the organization even stronger.
Yes.
Which is one of those things I think he has a fight with Big Daddy with at some point. Is just like, hey, do we use these superpowered soldiers? And Big Daddy's like, no.
Yeah.
Let dead people die. And so let's see. Brandon is taken into the Necrorise project.
Yes. Against Harry's will. Or not, he doesn't know about it.
I think Big Daddy learns about it and really hates Dr. Takioka for it. Someone does. Oh goodness, now I have to look through it.
Harry definitely doesn't know until afterwards.
Harry doesn't know, right, Dr. Tokioka tells Big Daddy, and Big Daddy's like, you fucking idiot, I hate you, let him die. And then Dr. Tokioka especially doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
And then Big Daddy's like, hey, Maria, Brandon's alive, and he's living on a farm far away. Here's a suitcase and just call Brandon if you ever need him.
So Dr. Tokioka runs away with Brandon's body.
Yes.
And because at some point the necro-risen people all activate and start just destroying the science lab.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dr. Tokioka runs away with Brandon, rechristens him Beyond the Grave, knowing that at someday he'll be needed, and another doctor takes over the work.
And beyond that, now we're back to the future. Now the revenge story and the story of the game, as it were, starts.
Yeah, several, maybe days before where the game or the even first episode started.
Yeah. And I think that this part can be summarized pretty easily as just Beyond the Grave goes around, kills all of Harry's top brass, who have all been super necrolized. There's a new version that also turns them into weird techno monsters.
But they're alive. It only happens to alive people who are very strong.
Yes. Alive people who are very strong and very smart. Very strong like Bungie.
I guess to let people know, in the art book, every note next to Bunji Kugashira's name just ends with very strong. It'll say, he smokes, very strong. Needs to have trench coat, very strong.
So Brandon, in no particular order, kills Bob Poundmax, Bala Birdley, Bear Walken, and Bunji. And that's
actually in the exact order.
No, Bear Walken is last.
Yeah, you said, well, no, Bunji is after Bear.
Oh, you're right. That is correct.
So you were right.
Yeah, okay, yes. Also, Maria's daughter is there. She's just kind of there to fall in love with Beyond the Grave. It's not that important.
Yeah, she's living out her life with Maria, and then they go and attack.
Yeah, a bunch of Millennium suits come in and kill Maria.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, Harry said that he didn't want anybody to contest the throne.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he just really hates anyone attached to Big Daddy at this point.
And also at one point, Ballad Birdley killed the two dudes that Brandon worked with earlier that Jay liked.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, Brandon kills everybody, at some point there's an insurrection within the organization itself for no particular reason, where everybody decides, man, Harry can get fucked.
Because Harry has been like so big on this whole Necrorise thing and killing anyone in his way, and very clearly like it's all not working out at this point. It seems like in this case everyone's just like, we did all this shit for Harry and it's not panning out anymore, and we all hate him, and everyone has already always hated him, but he's got the weapons.
Now he's gotta go. And at one point, like, at the start of the time skip, like, one of the governors gets killed by the necrolizers, and everybody knows it's Millennium's fault. Like, right. Harry is messing up.
Yeah, he's become very, very public with all this, like, hey, because they've also, like, perfected necrolizing to make what they call the Orgmen, which are like the ones that show up in like the game and everything, is like the ones with little bat wings, but they're like super soldiers and they just can't get beat by anything but like super special guns, which Tokioka has built.
Yeah, the super bullets.
Because he's had 13 years to think about it.
Right.
And then the story concludes, Harry has to go on the run. He's being chased down by Millennium agents, and then Beyond the Grave finds him, and they have like a final chat about how they used to be friends, and in the end, Harry realizes that his evil ways were wrong, and then they both die. And that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
It's a very different ending.
Yeah. It's a better ending, I think. I like it. Man, Gungrave's great. I mean, it's a fantastic anime, I think.
I didn't think that Harry ever deserved redemption.
No, it is weird that they give him that.
Because, like, yeah, he's a good dude to start, but it's very clear he's also, like, willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top. Like, from the beginning, as soon as they hit Millennium, he was just like, yes, I am ready to do literally whatever it takes.
Yeah, he says it, like, in basic language. He says, I'll do whatever it takes to get to the top. And again and again, he keeps saying it. I don't think I've ever seen a story that makes me hate a dude as much as this. Like, it's 20 episodes of a guy just being the worst man alive, and in the end he doesn't even die, and that's fine, you know, but it is weird that they try to redeem him a little.
Yeah,
because he's way beyond redemption at that point.
But I think it is so much about not whether or not we think he's worth redeeming, but that Brandon thinks he's worth redeeming.
Yes.
Because so much of it is about their relationship just as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really wish that this anime wasn't, like, based on Gungrave, because I think it would have been way better.
Or, like, if it had just been the like, pre... the last shot is him, like, waking up or whatever.
That would have also been good.
Like, tie it off enough from the game.
I think there's a bunch of moments they could have ended it on if they had, like, planted seeds for later storylines, like, very early.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be great if they could end it with Brandon falling out of the elevator, but at that point we already know about necrolization, and we already know that Harry wants to get rid of Big Daddy, so there's stuff that still needs to be told.
Right.
So that's kind of unfortunate.
But, you know, it was supposed to be an adaptation of the game, and they just added more backstory to it, so... You know, they did, I think, the best with what they could have, because they probably couldn't have pitched it without the gun part. You know, like the final part.
Yeah, that would have been super weird. That would have been a Dragon Ball Evolution level of difference.
But
except
better,
good instead
please.
of bad. Yeah.
Yeah, let's oof.
Don't get me wrong, I love Gungrave. I think it's, like, in my top 10 favorite anime of all time. Well, before the time skip.
There's a lot of very, like, good character building and stuff. Like, even within, like, the side characters, like, seeing the way that, like, everyone develops before and after, like, meeting Harry. Like, you see, like, especially, like, Bob and Lee, you see very, sort of, like, happy-go-lucky. Like, they're not super interested in getting up to the top, but they're willing to do their best for Harry, and eventually that just grows into them becoming, like, more like him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think, like, episode 14 is, like, just a fantastic, like, episode of anime. Like, I think that's
the one where, like, Brandon dies.
Yes. The episode Brandon dies. And I just think that that's just, like, fantastic. Like, I think that is, like, if you were to say that this was, like, a great anime, I think that would be, like, the episode you point to. But, like, I personally, like, I think that this is a good anime, like, especially before the time skip. But, like, whenever it gets to the whole, like, gunfights and stuff, like, it's just, like, this feels unnecessary, and I don't like it as much as I like the game Gungrave.
Yeah. Episode 14, incidentally, what happens in it is Big Daddy decides on who his successor is going to be because he's getting old. And he decides it's just some random dude who we barely even know, when the obvious option would have been Harry.
But they name him, so...
Yeah, he's called Arzak Tino?
Yes.
Is that what he's called? Yes. So obviously, like, Harry's pissed, and he and Brandon go on a ride together.
And everyone thinks Harry's gonna win because I think he owns 80% of Millennium.
Yes. And he's got a lot of pull within the organization. He's been, like, the one putting Millennium on the map even more than it already was.
Yeah.
But the majority of the episode is just Brandon and Harry riding through their own town, like, reminiscing about the way things used to be, talking about their old orphanage and stuff. But it's clear that there's, like, a huge disconnect between them now. Like, they're totally different people, and they're, like, barely even capable of talking with each other properly anymore, because Harry's such a little shit, and Brandon's such a good little egg.
Like, Harry's completely forgotten about, like, the friends who died in, like, the first couple episodes.
And it seems like he's forgotten just everything. Like, at the very start, Harry and Brandon join it because it's like, hey, we're gonna come back, we're gonna build proper gravestones. I think they say, like, the biggest damn gravestones anyone's ever seen for them.
Yes.
Like, it's so much of it is about being able to come back and pay proper respect to them. And Harry is just forgotten in his lust for power. And it really shows, I think, better than really anything else in the series, just how different these two ended up becoming. Because, like, you see the actual actions of them separate, they don't work together. So, you know, you see each of them acting separately, but once they get together and it becomes so obvious how much has changed between them, that's, I think, where the whole thing really starts to, like, shine as their, like, relationship.
Yeah. I think that's a good point you bring up. I think it's really interesting just how different, like, the Brandon and Harry parts of the story are. So obviously, like, Brandon's out there, you know, killing people, but, like, he and Bungie and their crowd of people, and, like, I guess also Big Daddy and Maria, they have, like, these real conversations, and they talk like real people about the stuff that bothers them and what they're thinking about. Whereas, like, Harry is just, like, this super evil dude, and Bob and Lee are just caricatures who you can't relate to.
Yeah.
And and that's interesting, like, seeing them develop separately. It's very good.
Yeah, Bunji's actually probably the most human out of all of, like, Harry's group.
And Bunji gets the most development.
Yeah.
And I think also the coolest fight at the end.
Yeah.
Bunji is really weird to me because he changes characters, like, really suddenly after he joins Millennium. Like, before that, he's kind of like a too tough to care, like, kind of ragged down gunman. And after that, he becomes, like, silly comic relief a little bit.
He becomes best buddies with Brandon.
Well, maybe that's because he finally has something to live for.
Maybe.
Like Bunji's whole thing is, like, suddenly he's basically Brandon's apprentice. Mm-hmm. Because, boy howdy is Brandon so much better at gun shoot than Bunji. But they both have, like, this respect for each other because they're both extremely good at gun shoot.
Right.
Yeah, Brandon, like, crosses his arms when he fires.
Like, and, oh man, you see Bunji develop even during, like, the other fights with people. Like, he's going to train, he has been, like, avoiding the whole, like, necrorize thing so that he doesn't power up until, Brandon comes back, because he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna kill that guy, because,
like, he tries to fight Brandon without the necrolyzer.
Yeah, and like, fucks up.
Yeah.
But Bunji is so big on believing that, that Brandon betrayed the organization, because that's the story that's been going around to justify his death.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really mad that Brandon, like, betrayed everything that he sort of taught to Bunji. And, like, Bunji drops out of the organization, he starts, like, living on the street like a vagabond. He's, like, drinking heavily. Like, he's just going through so much shit, and he has so much development through these last episodes up until the final fight with Grave.
Yeah. Actually, That is one thing that's weird. Like, everybody is just like, oh, you betrayed the organization. Even like Bob Poundmax and Brandon Bird Lee. It's like Harry never told them.
I think they knew and they're just like playing along with it at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
At that point, it doesn't really matter anymore. When I was 15 and I was first watching this anime and I saw the scene where Bunji is getting beat up outside of a club, I thought what I was supposed to take away from that is that he thought he was weak not being an orgman and he wanted to get upgraded, but there's way more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much going on with his character and no one else's in that organization. Because, like, even Bear Walken only sort of gets it.
Yeah.
Because Bear Walken so much has been, like, he basically, he's just, like, he's sort of doing the respect game, you know, it's about whoever's in charge, he's taking care of them, you know, whoever he has these ties to. So he still has sort of his, like, code of ethics. And it hasn't really changed because even when he goes to, like, his Orgman form, right? His superiorization, he still, like, has that honor to him. He's very, like, serious about what he is.
Also, I just love how big a fucking weeaboo
Yeah,
Bear Walken is.
He's a super Japanophile.
The thing I love most about Bear Walken is that his daughter has a bear that has his sunglasses on it.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Oh.
He's kind of a weird character though, because obviously he cares about stuff a lot, even though he does have like this code of respect drilled into him.
Right.
Like he cares about his daughter and people in general, and it's weird just how easygoing he is about like Harry, this big dirtbag taking over the organization.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
And about how Harry's dating his 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And then she dies. Oops.
It's also weird that Brandon is the only one who really visibly ages after the second time skip.
Dr. Takioka gets more bald every time
you're right. He does too. But like, Bear Walken and Bob Poundmax don't get any older.
They just get fat. Well, Bob just gets fatter.
No, he gets fatter after the first 5-year times. Yeah.
I don't think he gets too much fatter.
No, I think he stays maybe a little bit.
Harry's voice actor changes?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
That was a bit jarring.
Harry gets extremely old.
Yeah, he starts talking like Snake in Metal Gear Solid 4.
He's just smoking 100 packs of cigarettes a day.
I'll tell you what my favorite 2 episodes of this show are, because they come back to back, and I think they form a great representative whole of the series together.
Mm-hmm.
It's episodes 8 and 9. In episode 8, that's the one where there's one of Bear Walken's best friend. I think it's called Sid Gerald.
Oh, right. Him.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because with the son.
Yeah, there's this whole story arc where Sid's son does something. I don't remember what he does, but
he botches an operation.
He botches an operation,
and I think tries to run away from it.
Yes, and there's like this thing in Millennium where Millennium always comes first. Like the family, as in the upper brass of the organization, comes before Sid's own family. But Sid decides, man, I can't do it, and he gives his son some. Yeah, so he gives his son some money, and he's like, I never want to see you again. Just leave town, make sure they can never find you. And then later he has this heart-to-heart with Bear Walken about it, who's like his best friend. And in the end, I think he tells Bear to go kill Sid, right? Or to go kill his son, right?
He says...
Oh, no, wait, sorry, I got confused. No, he wants Bear to kill him. He wants
in place of his son, yeah.
Yes, because he let his son escape, which means that he messed up. He betrayed the organization. Yes.
Right. I think he took the blame for his son. Like, he was like, it was me that stole it. But, like, they both knew that it was his son.
And I think that was a great, neat little story that shows, like, how the organization affects people and, like, how you start seeing ties when this bizarre code of ethics is forced onto you. And then in the next episode, Blood War gets out of prison and joins his old buddy Cannon Vulcan because he thinks his new skull dogs are sick.
Yeah, because he's part of a different group called Volcano. And he's like, actually, this guy's got some sick dogs.
Like, he goes, hugs his boss, and is like, hey, I'm gonna go. His boss is like, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah. My new friend's got way better stuff than you do.
And then someone talks back to him and he just fucking kills him. It's like, anyone else want to talk about my retirement? No? Good.
And he's like, okay, good, and I'm gonna kill all of you guys anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why they call me Blood War.
Blood War, incidentally, has facial hair that I can only describe as a tribal tat beard.
So the idea was that both him and Canon Vulcan were in a war, right?
Yes.
Because they talk about, like, coming back and, like, changing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they're very, like, they're sort of the Vietnam vet characters.
Right.
Like, super
Oh my god.
It's like the whole thing that they're super disenfranchised with what's come out of it, and they're really just ready to, like, fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Blood War.
Blood War.
They're just all good names in this series.
It's weird that anime original characters get, like, the weird names that the Orgmen end up getting, too, you know? Because Blood War isn't in the game, right?
No.
And Canon Vulcan is?
No.
No, okay, that I'm misremembering.
No, but Graves' coffin has a Vulcan cannon in it.
Oh, that's why I got confused, yeah.
So was the coffin named after the guy, or?
I don't know.
The most respectable man in all of Gungrave, the guy who made the dogs.
Also, I just love, like the video game outfit for Grave just feels so incredibly, like, out of place in this anime, and, like, throw it away, like, 2 episodes into the current thing.
That's right.
Just, like,
he just gets a normal trench coat and a hat.
Yeah, he's just like, okay, we're getting rid of the tiny cowboy hat. He doesn't have the coffin anymore. No, he's I don't think he ever quite goes to, like, just shooting normal guns. I think he always has his big revolvers.
He also loses the sweet leg warmers.
But eventually, like, with the guns, he gets anti-superior bullets to specifically fight the thing that makes the organization members become their, like, super forms.
Yeah.
And they're very different from the game.
Yeah, Bob Poundmax is the only one that looks similar.
Yeah, what is it? Let's see. Because we have Balladbird Lee, who just kind of turns into a spider?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's a really boring design.
Yeah, he just kind of turns into a spider where his legs are sharp enough to be blades instead of, like, a guy with, like, swords for ankles and guns on all of his
and
limbs.
knees and stuff. Yeah.
And then Bear Walken is just sort of like a big dude.
No, he turns into, like, a big,
like
weird deity sort of thing with the detached arms and all that.
I think his design is okay, but I like his stupid, like, motorcycle giant
thing.
arm better. Yeah.
I think that might be one of the failed designs for Bear Walken, because I know a lot of them play a lot more into the sort of, like, Buddhist character that he has, like the side of him that's, like, very into sort of the religion.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that, because the design is good.
It's good. I like him. And then Bungie is a weird one, because basically he just, like, becomes better at, like, moving.
Yeah,
he doesn't
very
really
strong.
transform. It's just like, hey, I'm much better at all the things I already did.
He does that one attack from the video game where he kicks Grave up in the air and then shoots him.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
So all the fights are, like, kind of anticlimactic, except for Bungie's.
Yeah.
Where they really, really play up sort of the, like, the gunplay and everything that goes on in that, church.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed they didn't, like, set it in the church, because I think that scene in the game is just, like,
the setting and
really,
everything?
Yeah, the setting is just fantastic.
But it really, I think, does the best job of anything of, like, really getting the game part in there.
Right.
I think the biggest problem with with all the big fight scenes with the Orgmen is that they either knew or decided, like, for safety in advance that the fight scenes couldn't be very animated.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a lot of it's a lot of Beyond the Grave just standing still shooting at the dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a little unfortunate.
And it's not like the whole series looks cheapish. Like, there's great looking parts in the first half. Like, when when Blood War throws up the cigarette, and the cigarette spins around, damn, that looks so good.
Like, the part where Harry and Grave were driving, like, I thought that part looked great. Also, I thought the song was the one that played on the radio in Gungrave, like the game.
Here Comes
but
the Rain
it wasn't.
one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Sounds
you're
kind of
right.
similar though.
I think it might be.
That's used a
Maybe it's
lot.
the same band.
So speaking of songs, I really wish they had picked a different ending song once the time skip stopped.
Oh, it's so good.
No,
I
it's
love how
good.
inappropriate it is.
It's good, but I really do wish once the time skip stopped, they had picked something a little more, like, evocative, because, like, the whole ending sequence is so much, just the, like, it's still, like, about Harry and Brandon, like, making their way up the organization. It feels so much more appropriate when they're, like, not past the time skip.
Right.
I think it's still fitting because Brandon still longs for that time. Like, he still wants to go back.
It is, but it becomes a lot more dramatic. Like, oh, I just killed this guy. And then, like, the super happy, like, sort of, like, 90s guitar pops in.
But that is a good outro.
It is a good outro song, though. Let's be fair.
The intro is kind of bland, and it is extremely long.
It is. But I think the ending, is perfect, because every episode ends with, like, man, this situation is terrible, and then the Sonic Generation strings come in, and it's I love it.
It's
perfect.
Yeah, it is a good ending.
I think it actually does kind of work out in, like, a sort of weird way.
I think it always helps show that in the end it doesn't matter. Like, Harry and Brandon are, like, so irrelevant in the grand scope of the world. They know, even though their situation's bad, on the whole, we can still be happy about things.
So, I guess one thing we can talk about is the dub cast, because that's what we watched. I found it, like, really hard to watch it in Japanese, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Like,
I didn't even try.
I don't know what it was about it, but I just couldn't focus. Maybe just because there's so little dialogue, especially in the first episode. Like, it's like you look away for a second because, not a lot's happening, and I'm a very busy person. But, like, then it suddenly, like, a line's gone by and you've just completely missed it. I just found it a lot easier to take in with an English voice, like something I could recognize and not always have to look back at.
Yeah, the show was, like, a really, like, relaxing watch for me. I could just, like, lay back.
Because, like, even with all the gun stuff, it's still, like, so much about, like, these interpersonal relationships. There's still so much going on that isn't gun.
I think, ironically enough, the only performance that I think isn't very good is probably Brandon's.
I mean, Brandon really doesn't have much of a performance, but yes.
Yeah, but it's like, he always talks in this clearly fake, understated lower register. It's like, my name's Brandon. Brandon Heat. And that, people don't talk with their voice like that, and it's a little weird.
I wasn't offended by it.
No.
It just
comes
seems
up a little short.
Wrong, maybe a bit. Especially because he's voiced by Don Patch from Bobobo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and Jin from Samurai Champloo.
Yeah, he's doing a very Jin voice.
Yes, that's
but maybe
true.
trying to be a little more subdued about it.
I mean, they're basically the same character. They both have ponytails and glasses.
Right. And are strong.
Oh, I guess Brandon doesn't have a ponytail. He just has long hair.
Brandon doesn't really have glasses either. He just had... Like, that's a fake glasses thing that he just has, like, a crosshair over the eye that got shot.
Like, he wore them when he died.
Oh, yeah, he was wearing... When he's business professional, he has his glasses on.
Yeah.
I think they're not prescription, though.
They're just vanity glasses like Jen wears from Samurai Champloo?
No, he definitely needs them in Samurai Champloo.
No, he doesn't. They have to sell his glasses in an episode. He's like, oh, they're just fake, but I want my glasses back.
I thought...
Oh, weird. Bungie is voiced by the person who voices Dr. Cortex in all the most recent Crash Bandicoot games.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was interesting that young Harry is played by Lupin from Lupin the Third. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Similarly, like, ambitious characters, one is just a lot more goofy.
Yeah.
I, of course, mean Harry McDowell.
Yeah. I love that Harry McD.
A lot of these people are also in Samurai Champloo, by the way.
I think that it's just because that would have come out, I think, basically at the same time.
Yes.
They're pulling
so
from basically
sense.
the same pool of people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still Funimation after all. They're known for, like, endlessly using the same voice actors, doing the same voices across all their
Especially
stuff.
at the time.
Yeah.
I feel like especially later on, at least recently, they've started trying to do a lot more work with sort of their like lower, not like their like even lower than their B lists like group, just to kind of try to get more people into it, especially now that they're doing a million dubs all the time.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of big names pop up in here, like you see Michelle Ruff and Carrie Walgren playing the two Asagi girls. Like, there are a lot of very big names popping up, especially in the side characters. Like we said before, Steve Bloom's there.
Yeah, well, he does a lot of smaller roles all the time.
Yeah, one cool thing is they actually got a black voice actor to do Bear Walken.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
wow.
really nice.
That's cool, because you could have definitely, if they wanted to, they could have just played it off as he's tanned, and his daughter also, who's a child.
And that guy then plays a lot of other prominent, like, black characters in anime. Like, A from Naruto, plays DJ from Street Fighter.
Okay.
Oh.
Who is Bob Poundmax? Oh, that's Doug Stone, that's right.
Doug Stone sounds like it would be Bob Poundmax's real name.
Yeah, it does.
He also plays Jester, interestingly enough.
A lot of these people are also in Blaze Blue, I'm noticing.
Huh. Wait, like the game or like the anime? Well, I assume they're basically the same.
I don't think the anime ever got dubbed.
Okay.
I wish. The dub crew for Blaze Blue is great.
You know what sucks is the new Blaze Blue game isn't getting a dub either.
Oh my god.
That sucks because that's all I'm in it for, and the incredibly rich plotline.
See, the great thing about Blaze Blue, the dub at least, is that the main character swears a lot, and he swears when he does all of his attacks, so you can put down these sweet profanity combos. And if you're playing the Japanese version, it's just not the same, you know?
Yeah.
Who is the main character in Blaze Blue?
Ragna. Blood Edge.
Ragna the Blood Edge.
Yes.
Oh, so the sole bad guy?
No, he's a lot nicer than Soul Bad Guy.
But he looks like Soul Bad Guy.
He has the red going on and the big sword in a weird holster, yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Gungrave.
Mm-hmm. My favorite thing about Beyond the Grave's transition from his video game outfit to the later outfit is that at one point he wears a black safari hat.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
really
don't remember
good.
that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah. Oh yeah, when he's just trying to blend in with society.
Yeah, when he's trying to blend in with Mika there.
And he never takes the tag off.
Yeah, that's right. They do show that.
What a cool guy.
What a guy.
One of my favorite things is just how Brandon Bird Lee,
Ballad
in the
Bird
final
Lee.
couple of episodes, Ballad Bird Lee, my bad, just keeps referring to Bob Poundmax as his best friend.
Yeah.
Because there was no establishment of that. Just
I think they sort of bring it up because Harry meets both of them at the same time in that bar or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just you can't do this to my best friend, Bob Poundmax, who is my best friend, without doing it to me first, because I'm his best friend.
And then he suddenly does a kung fu move and a Bruce Lee yell for no reason.
Yeah, because he's Chinese. Look, it's not perfect in its portrayals of characters.
No. I'll tell you what I think my biggest problem with this show is, outside the back half just being kind of trashy and lame, yeah.
No, okay, so we say trashy lame. There's a really, really good part where where Brandon's driving into the city and a bunch of orgmen pop up on this sick motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
And they have a fight. That's good. But
that's
continue.
a good fight.
And yeah, they even get the motorcycle from the game, which is a weird pull.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with the story is how easily Harry gets away with stuff all the time. He's like the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's surprising no one thinks, oh, Harry's stopping all these people. Maybe there's a connection there?
Oh, I don't even mean that. I mean just there's times where really he ought to die, but he doesn't because, he can't die because that's the story.
Right.
And it makes his air of, I'm the best, I'm building my way up to the company because I'm just that good at doing what I do, feel phony because
I think he's supposed to feel phony to a sense, though.
No, but I mean, like, the fact that he's capable of doing all this to begin with, because there are just so many situations that he shouldn't have been able to make his way out of in the series. I think my biggest, like, sub-problem here is Bob Poundmax himself, who is, like, this amazing communications manager.
Yeah, he's extremely good at surveillance.
Yes, but then he's also, like, just kind of a goofy weirdo. Like, he's basically a comedy character, and that feels really weird for someone who is so important to Harry's ability to stay established as a top name in Millennium.
Yeah.
Like, that is basically brushed off.
They just use Bob Poundmax to call Brandon and just like, Harry's in trouble, and like Brandon's like, and he's like, did you hang up? I can't tell.
But you know, it's stuff like when Big Daddy confronts him, and then at the end when some of the people from Millennium confronts him, like, the only reason he doesn't die is because other people show up to protect him just in time. And it's a lot of stuff just like that.
I'm thinking of things where people get saved. I really like when they're fighting the necrolized blood war, and what happens is, like, they're having a real rough time, like Bungie and Brandon, because he can't get Blood War can't get killed normally, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, on this, like, fucking boat, comes Bear Walking and his group, the Overkills.
The Overkills.
And like, there are just 5 dudes laying a machine gun's worth of bullets into this dude to, like, distract him, where then Brandon gets the final shot in.
I like that we never really get told why Beyond the Grave's guns are good enough to fight the necrolized soldiers.
You mean during the flashback, or after he's become Grave?
After he becomes Beyond the Grave.
Well, like, during the flashback, they show him buying the very powerful handgun, and that sort of was good at it.
But I like that that's good enough. It's just a really good gun, and that does it.
And then eventually he gets, like, the superior bullets, but, like, that's not as big a thing. Like, that's just because, these guys are crazy. So, I think... So the big difference in the story is that aliens don't play into this at all. No longer is seed a thing. There's no drug that's making these people. It's all this necrorays, like, just science stuff.
Yeah.
I think that does a good job of, like, it does a good job of paring down the story, where it's like, it's no longer like this suspension of disbelief past this. It's like, because this is a thing that happens, like, in stories all the time, where it's just like, this particular technology is already advanced past what is reasonable, like, and it never feels like a cop out. Like, it starts out early, hey, this isn't very good, and then, like, it develops as the story goes on.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that does a good job of doing that, even though the game is, like, fun and how, like, nonsense it gets. Like, when you're trying to tell a story like this, I think it's better that it's more grounded.
Yeah, for, like, an
Unlike
anime,
Bob
it doesn't make
Poundmax.
sense.
He flies.
Yeah.
But I just feel like there's, like, a real, like, aesthetic thing that I like about the Gungrave video games. Like, they really designed this, like, strange, like, world that is, like, with the angles and the size of everything, that just feels like it's all slightly askew, and that makes it feel very interesting. And I feel sort of disappointed that you never really see that in the anime. But it kind of makes sense since they're trying to tell a more human story. But one thing that it does is it makes the city feel, like, a lot less interesting. Like,
I can see that. I think the slums were very interesting, actually, and the city is definitely less so.
Yeah, the slums are interesting because they didn't really make sense, because, like, why are these slums so close to the city? But yeah, I actually did like their design.
Jay, I'm gonna blow your mind. A lot of slums are in the city.
Oh my god.
Whoa! I think one good thing, though, from this, or I guess interesting, going back to the games, is everything that's backstory can basically be considered canon. Everything up to Brandon getting shot out of that,
Well, except the kiwi races. Those aren't canon.
No, those are extremely canon.
Those are the opposite of canon, which is Vulcan.
No, but you can take all this backstory because it still fits within the story, and then at some point in those 13 years, the Necro Rise thing is still happening because Brandon comes back to life as Grave, but then just somehow aliens pop into it and there's drugs. But effectively, there's still so much of that backstory that pops in. So it's like 15 of these 16 episodes still play into the game, and then the rest of it is sort of like a weird retelling.
Yeah.
And they play with the Necro Rise stuff in a way that they don't in the game, where, okay, so in the game they talk about how, like, he has to replace all of the blood in his body every so often, because that's just what happens with dead people. Like, it's not getting filtered or whatever. And in the show, it shows that, Grave is slowly, like, dying. Like, just, there's no way to fix it. Eventually he is just going to, like, fall apart literally.
I think that's only because at one point he takes a lot of damage.
Okay, so he just can't recover from that.
Yeah, I think that's after the fight with Ballad Birdley.
But that's still a thing that comes into play, is, like, he is going to die and there's just no way to save him. Like, his regenerative abilities just don't work at that point.
Yeah.
And it plays in because he loses an arm during a fight. Like, there's all these things going on, and, like...
Yeah, he can't hold both his guns now. It's
oh my
sad.
God. It's deep.
And I guess ultimately that plays into the end where everyone dies and there's no way to, like, really resolve the story in the same way that the game does.
Yeah. They do mention the blood replacing thing early on. Like, that's how they hand wave why the necrolized people just start dying after 2 weeks or whatever. It's because they need to have their blood replaced, otherwise they just fall apart.
Yeah, and then with Grave, it's just like, he sustained too much damage that we can't even do that.
Yeah.
Because we do see him in that container that does replace his blood.
Yes.
He still has that Dr. T still has that in his fucking van.
Mm-hmm.
So weird.
For an anime that is just like a spin-off of like this really irreverent, silly action game, it's pretty neat to see just how much effort was put into making it look good and well-directed and having good music and all that.
Yeah.
It's a very well put together show, I think.
Yeah.
It is surprising, especially as, like, just a video game adaptation, that it can take so much from, like, I guess the implications of the game, because I feel like there was, like, an idea of all this when Nightow originally, like, pitched this idea, as it were.
Yeah.
But to be able to flesh it out from where the game ended up seems so, like, surreal as, like, a video game adaptation thing.
Yeah.
Like, in the original game, like, the only real line of backstory that you kind of get is, like, Harry saying, like, Brandon, we used to do everything together.
Yeah, you just get that elevator scene.
Right. And it's sort of like... But yeah, I think it is, like, interesting how much, like, humanity they try to put into this very, like, silly and over-the-top thing, and I think, like, that's a good way to do it, but, like, that's never really what I wanted from, like, a Gungrave thing. Like, if this was just about, like, mafia hitman gets, like, his best friend tries to murder him and then he has to come back, I think that would be a lot more interesting than... I think it would be more interesting without the zombies, basically.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely, the series is hamstrung by being attached to the Gungrave IP. Look,
we gotta put the cowboy hat on the cover of the DVD boxes, so he has to wear it at some point.
So he has to wear it for one episode, and then he's like, not in 1,000 years, and he throws it away and puts on the explorer hat instead.
He never even took the tag off the cowboy hat.
Like, are there any other real, like, anime adaptations that try to, like, build on the universe more than just be an adaptation?
This Super Mario anime movie from the 80s?
The Bayonetta movie?
That's not real either.
Okay.
Was it not, like, a direct...
I think it's a prequel to...
I guess there's Zone of the Enders. Zone of the Enders does a bunch of, like, stories within the universe.
Zone of the Enders... I like that anime.
That's a good show too, yeah.
But it does feel so much like it's built into this, like, most things you're gonna see are adaptations, like, straight from, like, RPGs and stuff.
Right.
Like, with, like, modern stuff, it's like, you've got God Eater, you've got Persona 4, you've got,
Bayonetta?
like, no, we got, like, Inazuma 11, like, all of these ones are just, like, more or less one-to-one recreations of the game.
If you're talking about continuing or expanding the universe, there's the Kirby anime.
That one's good. Also, it has a great voice dub, or English dub.
Yes.
Is it tied to a game?
No, at one point, yeah, because the villain from the video games is there at one point, and they do the Kirby air ride.
Okay.
King Dedede is there.
Right. Love them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they remade Kirby Adventure to be more like the anime.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about something. I actually haven't seen Trigun.
Well, you better change that.
Yeah, I should. But I'm wondering if, like, does any of the, like, character stuff from Trigun seem to, like, bleed in? Does it feel like Gungrave and Trigun are by the same person?
Do you mean the anime or the
Like,
video game?
Let's go. I mean, anime. Let's go. Like, just does it feel like the same sort of writing comes through in both those series?
I don't think so, but to be fair, I haven't seen Trigun in a very long time. Like, the last time I watched it was, like, the Badland Rumble, which I got for high school graduation.
Nice. I don't think, not really, I think. There's occasionally a similar tone, like, especially from the Trigun manga, where it's, like, characters being really serious about, like, relatively weird and, like, world-changing events. But that is, like, a really loose connection, and other than that, I think they're very different.
Okay. I was just curious, because I wasn't sure. Because I feel like Blood Blockade Battlefront is so very different from this, too, and how it builds characters.
I watched Blood Blockade Buddy Fight, or whatever, and, like, yeah, that really, like, the Gungrave doesn't feel really anything like it. Like, it wasn't what I really expected from the anime. Just because, like, of the other stuff I have watched by,
Naito.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure, because I'm not sure if he's, like, the sort of person that has, like, a consistent voice, or if he's just writing sort of what he likes.
I think Trigun and Blood Blockade Battlefront share some similarities, but he's definitely evolved a lot
Yeah.
since those days.
Like, if you had told me Blood Blockade Battlefront was a Blaze Blue anime, I would have believed you.
What? Why'd you say that?
Because the character designs look a lot like Blaze Blue character designs.
Yeah, a little bit. You're not
You can
wrong.
see a bit of that. Like, the main dude's, like, Tager, basically.
Yeah.
We keep coming back to Blaze Blue in this.
It's because it's so good.
Yeah. It's the foundation of all anime.
I think it's interesting seeing in, like, Blood Blockade Battlefront, it seems like that art style that he had with, like, Trigun and stuff, like, sort of the big lanky bodies, the sort of, like, long chins, seems to have mostly disappeared, except in, like, Zap,
Yeah.
who is, like, the most prototypical design, I feel, like, just how his face and everything looks.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Like, it does seem like everything else has, like, built off of it in a way that seems like, you know, he's developed, and then there's Zap.
Well, I mean, Trigun ran for more than 10 years. Like,
Yeah,
even
Trigun
within...
Maximum ended up taking, like, 10, 12 years, didn't it?
Yeah, so even within that, there's, like, his style transformed a lot.
Okay. Yeah, every time I think Trigun, I think only the original manga, and I keep forgetting that Maximum, like, exists. So I keep imagining, from 1999 to 2002, he was just, like, sitting around eating up all that Trigun money, but he absolutely wasn't.
He was making new Trigun money.
Was the original Trigun only 2 volumes?
Well, it was 3 volumes, and it basically, it's not like the story ended and then he made an after story, it's just he moved magazines, and that's why it has a different name and sort of a new start.
Okay, because, like, I don't think I actually have them here. I think they're probably still at my dad's house, but I had like the two like big volumes of Trigun and then like a couple of Trigun Maximums that were just like flimsy paperbacks. And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. He moved from a shonen to a seinen magazine as well, which you can really tell because Trigun Maximum gets out there.
Like, in terms of, like, just violence, or?
Yes.
Because it's suddenly for an older audience.
Mm-hmm. Not immediately, but it gets there at a certain point. Like, it gets very... You can see, like, elements of the Orgmen already in Trigun Maximum at some point, I think.
I'm gonna find a particular thing you said to me about this show, and we're gonna talk about it. Gungrave. It's gangsta but good, and also Hellsing but good, all in one show.
Oh yeah, I guess I did say that. I don't remember why.
We were talking about gangsta at the time.
Yeah, I mean the gangsta but good part's pretty obvious, I think.
Is gangsta an anime, or?
Yes.
Yes.
It's also a manga. I also said mongsta because it's like a gangster. Anyways. But I think you can see similarities in a lot of those types of shows, just how Gungrave holds itself.
Mm-hmm.
But Gungrave seems like, because it's tied to the game, it does feel like it's a weird in-between of two different stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's why it would have been better as a 26-episode just exploration of the past instead of having to tie it in, I think.
Yeah. But then they wouldn't have gotten that money from Capcom, you know?
You mean Sega?
Yeah, it's Sega, isn't it? Because it's Red Entertainment.
Is it Sega?
I think so.
Oh, it is Sega. Damn it, you're right.
Also, so Gungrave had the anime, it had 2 games, and since then, like, nothing has happened since 2004, but a lot of, like, rumors and, like, plans got announced. They were gonna have a mobile game, they were gonna have a movie?
I'm up for it.
They were gonna have a live-action movie 6 years ago.
Oh.
I don't think they've announced anything since, and it's kind of sad. Because you could do, like a John Wick sort of thing with it, I feel.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, was it supposed to be a live-action Gungrave movie?
Yes.
Oh, I would have totally seen that.
They should get George Miller to direct it, I think. That's the Mad Max guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why it's taking so long. He's doing it now.
Really play into it. One weird thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is like a weird Funimation thing or me not remembering it well, I'm pretty sure, so this takes place in basically like the 60s or something, like kind of like not recent, like recent America sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also I feel like on one of the gravestones it says it's the year like 20,000.
Yeah, I think they like it's like 1999 9 or something.
Yeah, it's something. There's like an extra digit added on there, like, and it's just like, oh, it's the year 20,000.
Well, it's just a setup that takes place in an alternate universe. I think.
It kind of reminds me of Tiger and Bunny. Like it's like this near future sort of show almost, but then it's like, oh, it's a tombstone that says that I died in 1979 or something.
Ooh. Closing thoughts on Gungrave? Do we have anything else we want to talk about just in general?
I mean, I'd recommend giving the anime like a watch and the game a play, I guess.
Me too.
I think the game is campy, I think is what we can say about it. It's very like, it is extremely 2000s cool in that it's sort of just like about fast action, run and gun, like crazy story nonsense that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
the anime is a very different beast altogether. That tries to make it a lot more of a serious story, a lot more of a human story. And I think while those two tones might clash, still what's developed in the flashback and stuff is very strong.
Absolutely.
So
That really is a good anime, even just in its own right.
watch the first 14 episodes, then play the game.
There you go. Well, no, because there's still some more flashback stuff after that.
Oh,
There's still more to learn about the characters.
I think like the first 6. Well, watch episodes 2 through 16. I think
Yeah.
that covers it. Then play Gungrave Overdose, and if you like that and think I could go for this, but a little worse, then play Gungrave.
And a lot more digestible.
Yeah,
Is the thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I want to play a game I might be able to beat. Let's play Gungrave.
But yeah, I think it is a very different beast as a whole, but still very good in what it does.
I like it all, man. All like Gungrave. I love it, no matter what shape it takes.
Especially because there's not just a ton of, like, real, like, strong mafia stories, I feel like, in anime.
Yeah.
No.
Like, there's Gangsta, and there's, like, Bakano, and that's kind of all... 91 Days, which just came out, but there isn't, like, a ton.
No.
So it does have that sort of fresh feeling to it.
Yeah.
Madhouse does it again. They did some good work on this.
They often do. They did the Devil May Cry anime as well.
Was that
Is that
good?
really good?
Yes.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I like it. It's not as good as this, obviously, but it's okay.
Right. Because what could be?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly.
Dante doesn't get shot in an elevator.
And lose an
I mean,
eye.
he gets shot in his own office.
Oh, fucked up. And then he eats a pizza.
Yeah.
Sounds like my kind of hero.
All I want is for Sega to hire Platinum Games for one last ride and make Gungrave 3.
Oh man, that would be really cool.
What would the Gungrave 3 subtitle be?
So we've Gungrave Overdose.
Detox. After
Oh.
Overdose.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
It'd be and then we could get the Dr. Dre album to be the soundtrack. Is that out yet? Did he finally put out Detox?
He put out an album, but I don't think it was Detox.
Jesus Christ.
He put out an album alongside Straight Outta Compton, I think.
Oh yeah, he did the soundtrack for Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, and I think that had a lot of new material on it.
But it's still not Detox.
I think, I mean, what's the guy called? Shinji Mikami isn't with Platinum Games anymore, but Vanquish had the gameplay. Mad World had the tone. You know, put those games together, that's basically Gungrave 3 already.
You do have a good point about that.
Yeah,
and those are
basically
both Platinum products. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're working on so many projects right now. Like, why not just, like,
Why not throw
Gungrave 2?
Gungrave in there? Gungrave 3.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
We've got money. We'll throw it at you.
You know, Sega? You should be listening.
Oh yeah, because one thing to note is this came from the era of Funimation where they're using the creepy "you should be watching" whisper.
Yes.
So that happens before every episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I was turned away from the computer screen. I guess I should.
I will admit I did tab up from time to time, so I'm sorry, funny.
With this particular show,
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier to do because it does. It's not that it always like moves all the time. Sometimes it's just very atmospheric, and I think it's okay to look away at those moments.
Yeah, no, it's more because it's dubbed, and that means I'm not missing anything if I look away. Not a lot, it's just every once in a while I wasn't looking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, actually, like, I went through this anime pretty quickly, like, faster than I normally go through shows, so it was definitely, like, an entertaining one.
Me too. I am not a good binge watcher, and I had this, like, I could have had this done in about 4 days.
I think part of that is sort of like it's got a different voice to it than you see a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Because it is so much like slower and more atmospheric and about characters in a way that number of just like shows, especially of the time, just weren't.
No, that is true. But it's always happening, though.
Yeah. Stuff's always happening.
Which is a weird dynamic, but they do it right.
It is a very good dub. Like, we talked about it a little bit, but it is just very good, I think, at handling the characters. Like, I never feel like they're trying to rush through their sentences.
No. Which is pretty impressive, I think, for an early 2000s dub. Like, they were still figuring it out at that time, I feel.
I think sometimes the screaming gets a little much, like the repeated name things just sounds kind of silly in English.
You know, episode 14 is great, but when Harry shouts Brandon, it's really embarrassing. Like when
Yeah,
he kills
Brandon,
Brandon!
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
It's a little ridiculous, but still, you know.
Blood War screams good, though.
Oh, he's great at screaming.
Yeah.
Especially when he goes necrolized, he just goes fucking nuts.
And Ballad Bird Lee's weird Bruce Lee scream is pretty solid as well. Good job, Steve Blum.
They did still make him fight on a train. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may have changed a lot, but they left him on a train. They still had Bob at that dinner meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Except it wasn't on a blimp.
he didn't throw a fucking chicken leg at Gungrave, and that's what makes me so mad.
Yeah, I
What
was
a
disappointed
bummer.
that he didn't throw, like, the whole bodies at him, just, like, fat bombs.
And Bear Watkins still happens at his house.
I don't think it was at Bear Watkins' house. I thought he just had, like, a Japanese garden on the roof of a place.
It's like a house.
It's a very Japanese place, still.
Right.
Yeah.
He's still in a very Japanese house. That's one thing about his character that keeps popping up is he lives in, like, a very Japanese house. He's got, like, the tatami mat set up, like...
What a nerd.
He's got that,
Who would do that?
what's the name of the thing? The bamboo, water...
The
Uh,
thing that clinks.
It is Shishi Odoshi.
There we go.
Yeah, it's really good. It hits the rocks right as the title card popped up, and I was like, "All right, this show is art." I almost forgot.
It also comes from that era of the show where there's no pre-opening like banter or anything.
Yeah,
It's like all straight into the song and then into the show, so there's no real breaks to it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which the opening's kind of whatever, I feel.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I wish it wasn't as long.
I just not a lot happens in it, and it feels long because it's just a lot of like still shots.
Well, I mean, like, it's more than a minute, which I think is a sin in an opening.
Well, a lot of them are about minute 30.
Yeah, most anime openings are a minute and 30 seconds.
Oh. Well, all animes are sins in my eyes.
But yeah, if it was a catchier song, I think it wouldn't be as bad. But it's just kind of like this mellow muzak thing.
Like
Mhm.
jazz sort of, yeah.
Yeah, light jazz.
It does fit into the theme of the show though, which is very jazzy.
Yes, totally. The show just has great music all throughout.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was Sueno Imahori who also worked on like Cowboy Bebop. He was part of the Seatbelts for that. He did Trigun music. You see a lot of that pop up. But he also
Yeah.
is like in Hajime no Ippo, Wolf's Rain, like he's a pretty big like jazz composer for anime. And I think that's one thing that does really good is that feel to it. Both in the games and in the series.
I keep expressing the sentiment, but I just think it's incredible they got such a dream team together for the Gungrave anime.
They really did. And even for the game, like, looking through the art book and stuff for interviews, it's like, yeah, we just kind of stumbled on them while we were thinking about it. Like, it's not even like, oh, we picked these people. It's like, it'd be really nice to get these people on. And then they just, like, run into them at a con and like, hey, you want to work on this? It's like, sure.
Nice.
Like, it's people who happen to be there. It's fantastic.
I love it.
Really is just a good series that isn't quite indicative of, like, the games, but even on its own, I think presents a very interesting take on the whole thing.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like a really good anime. Like, if you watched it on your own, it would be like a really neat anime, but at the same time, if you watched it on your own and just like, what's happening? Why are you fighting these giant zombies now? What? Like,
Well, they give you the first episode at least to get acclimated.
I guess that is true.
Yeah, the first episode is just supposed to throw you straight in, like, go, what the fuck happened? And then the anime is like, well, let me tell you.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
Yep, that's me, Brandon. Brandon Heat. You probably wondered how I got here.
If Brandon ever spoke, I bet there would have been a freeze frame.
Just like while he's like shooting the org man with his coffin Gatling gun, like, you're probably wondering how I got here.
Oh, you know, the first episode is pretty skippable because they repeat so much of it. But
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
talk about how much it just gets you into Gungrave, because not only does he have the two guns, the coffin shoots out of the truck and like swings around Grave, and then he immediately turns it into the Gatling gun and also the fucking like rocket, and just
Yeah.
explodes this truck of Orgmen who are coming at you. Like, it is a perfect opening just to be like, oh fuck yeah, wait, what the fuck is happening? And then it tells you. It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah. And then Mika can't shoot the can. It's like, oh.
Yeah, the distinction between the two is like, oof.
But I like how she has just as many bullets as Grave does.
Yeah, she fit a lot of bullets in that gun. She never needs to reload.
Oh, you can fit a lot of bullets into a handgun. You can do like 20 if you have a double-sided magazine.
Well, she was using a revolver.
She's using a revolver. Is the issue with that.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
And then it just like pans down, and there's like 30 shell casings on the ground.
I've been at this for days.
I also like that they show Brandon like reloading his like big fuck off video game guns, but they never really quite show it in a detail where you actually get a sense of how it works.
Right, like the bottom of that gun is just turned into like the magazine, and it's funny because they write it off. Basically, it's just like, oh yeah, he's got infinite bullets, but he's got to switch them out to be like, oh, here are my superior bullets.
I wish that he would reload like an S4 League where he just spins his guns around a little bit really indistinctly and then he has full ammo again.
Oh. Good times.
Good times.
Any final thoughts we want to say on Gungrave?
We've been doing final thoughts for 10 minutes.
You want any more final thoughts?
Finaler thoughts.
Like, as I think about it, it's just like more details about the show pop up that are just like real charming.
Yeah.
I'd probably buy that bear walking teddy bear.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, one thing. Here's proof that Brandon is a good guy and Harry is very bad.
Okay.
Harry courts a 13-year-old in order to get his foot into the mafia even more.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon ignores the 13-year-old that tries to tell him that she loves him.
Well, there you go. That's the barometer of being a good person.
Yeah,
It's a checklist with one item on it. Not a pedophile.
That's what makes Brandon Heat one of the most relatable anime protagonists in years.
Oh, goddamn.
And I don't think the game goes over, but that's also one of the post time skip things that is canon, is that at some point Sherry Walken dies.
Oh.
They just never explain it or go over it. Oh, she's dead. Doesn't even...
Wait, is that in the game?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's in the anime, and it is something that is canon, but is never brought up in the first game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
They just forget to bring that up, because it does play in later.
So, in the actual, like, game canon, Harry has married Bear Walken's daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
That's still canon.
Okay. It's Vulcan canon.
Oh my god.
We already did that.
Oh. It's a callback.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of those pinnacles of comedy. Callbacks, rule of threes, and yes and.
Just like the fake gun. It's a callback.
Right.
I also like that it starts and ends in the bar. You know?
Oh yeah, I think that does
deep.
a good, that it's got a good circular thing to it.
The series of flashbacks where, like, they're, like, going through their ages as they talk is a really, like, effective scene.
Oh yeah, when they're just hanging out in the bar and the ghosts of the people pop up as they're, like, talking about the different moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Harry realizes that he really lost everything he loved.
Right.
Like, we did talk about how it's a weird ending, but I think it is still, like, emotionally and, like, how it handles its, like, theming, it's very effective.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think it's a perfectly fine ending. It's just a little strange.
Weird.
I just feel like I should have been able to pull the trigger on Harry.
Like in the game.
Yeah.
Like in God of War 3.
Right.
Like God of War 3 stole it from Gungrave.
I've been shooting Harry for 20 minutes. Why won't it stop? I don't know. I don't think that's a reference anyone gets. But
I mean, I got it, so thank you.
Okay. I don't remember what I was going to say. I guess it probably didn't matter.
The ending theme is by a band named Scooby-Doo.
Nice.
I didn't know that, but it's a good ending theme.
Oh, well, now you do.
Oh yeah, I do think it's weird that after they, like, sort of go from, like, the earlier gangster theme to more, like, the video game style for a couple episodes, the final 2 episodes really go back to that earlier style again. Because in that sense, the ending does make sense.
Yes.
But it's just such a weird bookend to the series after, like, 8 episodes of Beyond the Grave shooting up a bunch of weird skeleton men.
Yeah. And also big, like, amorphous blobs.
Yeah. And that's Gungrave.
That's Gungrave.
That's Gungrave.
What a good show. Get it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, why not? It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you can't get any of the special edition stuff attached to Gungrave, but that's fine.
You can get the revolt. Oh my god. Have you guys seen the Cowboys from Hell figure of Beyond the Grave?
No.
Google that right now.
I've seen a figure of Beyond the Grave. You said Cowboys from Hell?
Cowboys from Hell Beyond the Grave. Just type that. I don't know if you'll get what I'm looking for if you do that.
I mean, Cowboys
okay,
from
yes,
Hell
you will. In the images tab, you will very much get.
What?
For those of you listening to the audio cast right now, he looks like a Ken doll dressed up like Beyond the Grave, and it's amazing.
At first I thought this was just a dude.
It's a really good head.
It's a really well detailed head of some white guy.
Yeah.
Is this official?
I think so.
And one of the things he's wearing like goggles, like aviator goggles or something.
When he puts the cowboy hat on, I can almost not tell that this is just like some imposter.
Yeah.
Cause like they did a whole bunch of figure stuff like as tie-ins, I think, for the games.
Yeah, it's easy to forget, but Sega did try to make Gungrave a big thing at one point. Like, they wanted it to be their Devil May Cry.
They really wanted, I think, to push Gungrave, and I think, to a sense, it worked because it got a second game, but I think so much of that is, and I think I discussed this a little bit, is like, the Western audience is the big thing that drew Trigun in.
Yeah.
And so this would have only worked for a Western audience as well.
Mm-hmm. This even more so than Trigun.
One thing I like about this figure is that it just comes with a bunch of, like, assortments of plastic tiny bullets that you can scatter around him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but if you're gonna get a Trigun figure, or a Beyond the Grave figure, get the Revoltech one, because it's a lot more accurate to the source material.
And please don't buy the Cowboys from Hell one. I mean, if you can find... I don't know how many of these were produced.
I don't know, but it's probably super expensive, because it's one of the ones where everything is like real cloth and real tiny buttons and stuff.
Jesus.
I'm gonna say $600 at least.
I also appreciate that if I search for Beyond the Grave figure, I get pictures of Lemmy from,
Damn, rest in peace. I bet he loved Gungrave.
Man, if they are still doing that live-action movie in 2010 and not now, they could have gotten Lemmy to play Beyond the Grave.
Oh, they could have.
No, he would have played Rockabilly because he would have been able to use the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
But that was our single-serving episode on Gungrave.
Yeah.
James Hetfield could be Blood War.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. We're casting metal.
No.
We're casting metal artists as fucking Gungrave characters. No, yeah, this is our first time doing something like this, so let us know what we could improve on. Because I know we had a little bit of, like, initial difficulties just trying to figure out the pace at which I think works for a synopsis. Especially with something of 26 episodes.
Yeah, where a lot happens.
Yeah, just let us know what we can improve on. In this case, I think it's very important, because we do want to do more shows like this eventually. I mean, not as tie-ins and shilling for, my other projects, but, just in general.
I was very happy I could be here on this inaugural episode.
Yeah, you're special, Jay. Friend of the show.
I'm glad you were here.
Oh, thank you.
And, so, you can send that either to our Twitter, which is at Coco_disaster, or the email, which is chirpsawaysa@gmail.com. Probably not a good idea to leave a review specifically about this episode, but if you want to leave a review, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Google Play Music.
You can leave a comment on YouTube if that's where you're watching.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. We do that too sometimes. Sometimes I don't remember that, except that it takes us like 100 hours to produce the video version of this.
Yeah, well, me.
Well, yes. It just takes me super long to do the audio too.
Yeah.
Look, we work hard for you guys.
A lot of work goes into these shows, yeah.
But yeah, and if you need more information on all the things we just said, cocodisaster.com will lead you to all those places.
That's true.
Yeah.
Where can they find your LP?
Oh, right. Well, if you're watching the YouTube,
Let me give you the exact URL.
Watch equals. No, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you already know because this is the channel you're on, but it is youtube.com, user Chorpsaway, CHORPSAWAYSA. And you will find that Let's Play and other Let's Plays there, but they're not related to anime. Well, actually, there are a lot related to anime. I can't pretend.
But not to Gungrave.
Right, just not to Gungrave. But yeah, this has been fun. I think this is good to sometimes, like, pare down the discussions we usually have.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan, Jay, you're not used to this.
No, I've never done this before.
Join us next time when we talk about ReZero.
No, Jordan.
Oh.
It would basically just you be telling me how much you hate ReZero, which you already do enough
I mean,
of.
I don't hate it. It's alright.
Huh.
I mean, it's bad, but it's not really bad.
Yeah, also,
You give it 0 out of 5.
A ReZero out of 5.
Oh my god.
But, if you have requests for shows you'd want us to cover, you can also send those. Not that they'll immediately get fulfilled or fulfilled ever. But, it's something we can take into consideration. We do have some already lined up as, like, ideas for what we want to cover for later shows. But, it's always nice to hear what you guys want.
And if it falls exactly in line with what we plan to watch, then you're gonna be in luck.
Yeah, boy howdy.
Because in that specific situation, we listen to our fans.
Yeah, and maybe if you don't send us something that's bad.
Yeah.
Let us watch good things sometimes, Jesus.
Wait, you should just make shell accounts and just suggest the animes you want to do.
Oh wow, this one comes from Borpsaway. And says we should watch Evangelion. Well, boy howdy. Oh, this one comes from Borden Kai SM. And says, man, why don't you handsome and talented and single young men watch the original Berserk TV series?
Wow.
This one comes from Bajay. And says, hey, get that other guy on the podcast again.
He sounds handsome.
And watch Afro Samurai.
Anyway, this has been Boko Disaster.
I'm Borpsaway.
No! You gave away your cover!
Oh fuck, I mean I'm Chorpsaway.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Jay.
Sweet dreams.